Okay, good morning, Algebra. It's Tuesday, May 19th, 2020. Just set your notebooks up. We're doing box plots today. All right, you should be back. Box plots, also called box and whisker plots. A kid lost points because he didn't add the whisker on a Regents because it said box plots. So you need to know that they mean the same thing. Even though it just says box plots, you still have whiskers, okay? So it's box and whisker plots, and box plots are done the exact same way. Okay, so here's your data. All right, first we have to order it from least to greatest. Now, before you go ahead and do that, you can do that on your graphing calculator. All of this can be done in your graphing calculator. We're going to do this part by hand, but I'm going to show you how to do it in your graphing calculator. After today, you won't have to do it by hand. All right, so turn your calculators on. Okay, so we're going to go to stat. Anytime we're doing any kind of graphs that are statistics, you go to stat for statistics. You always hit number 1, edit, to enter your data. Again, you arrow up, hit clear, arrow down, arrow up, hit clear, arrow down. If you don't see list 1, list 2, then clear out your memory, right? You'd hit second memory, which is above the plus sign, and clear it out. Okay, so we're going to enter our data. We only have list 1 because there's only one list. It's not like an X and Y. So we're going to put in these numbers. So we put in 68, 72, 70, 84, 100, 84, 92, 90, 98, 83, and 91. Just double check. So if you look, see how it says list 112? There's nothing there. So that means I have 11 pieces of data. See the list 1, 11 right there? See the 11 here? Okay, that means there's 11 pieces. Just double count, double check. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This way you know you put in the right amount. Okay, so now we're going to put them in order from least to greatest, so you don't have to do it yourself. So you hit stat again, and you either hit 2 or 3. Ascending order is alphabetical, right? Descending means Z the other, starting with Z and going the other way. So we want ascending order, and we're going to put list 1 because that's the 1, so it's above the number 1. So you hit second and hit the 1, and hit enter, done. So you go back to stat and go back to edit, and if you see, your list is in order from least to greatest. All right, and then you just copy that list. So this way you don't have to go through all of that. So it's 68. I'm writing it right here where it says order from least to greatest. 70, over here. 72, 83, 84, 84, 90. Let me just scroll down. 91, 92, 91, 92, 98, 100. 91, 92, 98, and 100. I'm just going to double check again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, so how do we find the 5-point summary? So what is the 5-point summary? It includes the minimum, quartile 1, the quartile 2, quartile 3, and the maximum. Okay, you also know this quartile 1 as the 25th percentile. You also know quartile 2 is the 50th percentile. And quartile 3 is the 75th percentile. And the maximum and minimum are obvious. This is also called the median, or the middle number. Okay, so this is 25% of the data and below, so that's the marking of where you're at 25%. This is the number that marks where you're at 50%, so 50% and below. And then quartile 3, it's marking where you're at the 75th percentile, or 75% of the data, and then there's your maximum. Okay, so how do you do it by hand? So I made it an odd number to make it easy for the start. So you have 11 numbers, so you want to go to the one in the middle. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this 84 right here is your middle number. So your quartile 2, or your 50th percentile, is 84. Okay, that's this. All right, then you take the bottom half and you put a box around it, and you find the middle of that number. That will tell you the 25th percentile. The middle of that group of numbers is 72. So the quartile 1, or 25% of the data, is 72. Then you take the top half of the data and you find the middle of that number. The middle of that would be 92. So this would be 92. And your min is 68. And your max is 100. And that's your 5-point summary. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now we have to look for outliers. Before we do, though, I'm going to show you how to do these in your calculator. All right, you don't have to do them by hand. Last year you did, but now you have a graphing calculator. Your data's already in there. So you go to Stat, and you're going to calculate. And you just want one variable stats. If you put in one list, you want one variable stats. If you put in two lists, you put in two variable stats. So we're going to hit Enter on one variable stats. List 1 is correct. Enter, enter, calculate. And then you get all this information. Okay. So this is your mean. That's your average with the X with the bar over it. We'll be using that more often. We'll be talking about these later, but the number of data, there's 11 pieces of data. We're going to scroll down. The min is 68. Quartile 1 is 72. Median is 84. Quartile 3 is 92. And the max is 100. There's your 5-point summary. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it's these numbers. You don't have to show work on the regions on these. Okay, so that's your 5-point summary. All right, so now we're going to look for outliers. Okay, so to find an outlier, you have to find the interquartile range, the IQR, and you're going to do 1.5 times that. And then we're going to add or subtract that to our quartiles. So let's start with that first. The interquartile range is Q3 minus Q1. It's sort of clustering where most of the data is falling in the middle. So it shows you that cluster. So Q3 minus Q1. So Q3 is 92 and Q1 is 72. So you subtract that and you get 20. All right, and then you do 1.5 times the IQR. So it's 1.5 times 20, and you do that math. 1.5 times 20, and you get 30. Okay, so this is what you do first. You do this first. Okay, second. Third, you're going to subtract it from quartile 1 to see how far out the minimum falls from there and see if it's an outlier. So you're going to do the quartile 1 take away 30. So quartile 1 is 72, take away 30 is 42. Okay, this number is okay. If 42 was in here, it's not an outlier, but anything below, so 41, 40, any of those would be considered an outlier. The smallest number we have is 68. So 68 is fine. I'm going to put a check to show you it's not an outlier. Okay, fourth, I'm going to take quartile 3 and add 30 on. So we're adding this on to the other end, and your quartile 3 is 92. So you can do 92 plus 30. This is way up there, so that's 122. And 100 is our largest number, so that is not an outlier. So there are no outliers. Let's just write no outliers. Okay, but you always have to check for that when you're doing a box plot. Okay, now we're going to draw our box plot. So you're going to make a number line low because your box goes above it. So you're going to go lower. I'll make it down here with your arrows. There's an arrow here and an arrow here. You have to have these 5 numbers on there, and you have to have the same intervals here. So I'm going to start at 65 and go by 5s. So that's 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100, 105. So 65. Okay, you do that now. 100, and then 105. Okay. Now, if any of these numbers are not here, you're going to draw them in like so. So I want the 68. So right about before the 70, I'm going to make a longer number and put a 68 there so I can see it. 72, that would be right about here. So I'm going to put a 72. 84 would fall right about here, so I put an 84. 92 would fall right about here. And then 100 is there. Okay, so this is my whisker, and that's my whisker. So those are my 2 endpoints. So at the 68, I'm going to go up a little higher, above the number line. Now, everything else I make is going to be along this line. So that 68 goes up here. The 100 goes up here. Those are going to be the where I draw my whiskers to. Okay, your quartile 1, quartile 2, and quartile 3 are going to be bars. The center of them should be in line with this point. So at 72, I'm going to put a bar like this. Okay. At 84, I'm going to put a bar like this, same size, through the center there. And then not 100, sorry, and 92. And that's your box. And these are your whiskers. You go out to the max and out to the min, and that's your box plot. And then you always want to give it a title. This would be test scores. So on the top, you write test scores. Okay, so that's your minimum. That's quartile 1, or the 25th percentile. Quartile 2, or the median, 50th percentile. Quartile 3, and then here's your max out here. And that's how you do a box and whisker plot. All right, make sure you do your classwork.